Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another amazing episode of Aquarium Online Academy. My name is Sonia, and I am joined here in the studio by my friend Cole, and he is going to be helping us out with all of this amazing magic that you see going on right behind me. Today is Tuesday, October 28th, 2025, and if you are watching this live with us, we want to go ahead and encourage you to participate. A number is going to appear right there on our screen here, and that is going to tell you all you need to know for if you would like to text in. So if you have any questions when you are watching this live, go ahead and text into this number right over here. That's going to be 562-286-1838. And if you are watching this at a later point in time, but you still have questions, that's okay. We still want to hear those. We will get back to you. And so you can actually email those using live@lbaop.org. Alrighty. So in today's episode of Aquarium Online Academy, we are going to be playing I Spy. Maybe that's something that you've played before, and it's a game that involves using your senses. One of the main senses are going to be our eyes and seeing what we notice. One of the really great things that scientists love to do are make observations. And so that just means looking at something with your eyes and seeing what you notice about it. And so throughout our program today, we are going to practice that scientific skill of seeing what we notice and what is out there in these habitats. So right here behind me is one of our largest habitats that we have at the aquarium, and it's called our tropical reef habitat. One thing that's really cool about it is that you might notice all of these coral structures all along here, all along this rock work. Even over this side right here, we've got a nice coral structure. And so we're going to see what we notice in this habitat. Before we jump into that, though, what does the word habitat mean? Any guesses? Any thoughts? If you said a habitat is a home or a place where animals live, you are correct. So, in this program, we're going to be looking at habitats, what we notice about them, maybe seeing the size, the shape, the coloration of the animals that live in them. And that's going to lead us to talk about these adaptations that animals have. And yes, that is another fun science word that I have for you here. Let's go ahead and say it together. Adaptation. Great work. Great work, scientists. An adaptation is going to be any sort of thing that an animal has on its body that helps it to do stuff. So something that helps it to move around, maybe that helps it to feed itself. Really, any sort of thing that an animal has to help it survive in its habitat. All right, so before we get into a different habitat, I want to practice in this one that we have right here, okay? So let's see if we can, let's see the things that we can spy. What are some of the animals that we can look for? I spy some fish swimming with a yellow tail. Do you guys see that? Do you see that, scientists? There are some swimming right above me, right over, oh, and there's one over here right by my head swimming, and there's also some right over here. Do we see that bright yellow tail, that nice coloration? Yeah. We are going to be looking and seeing all that we noticed today. Anything else that we want to point out? I also see some fish that have stripes on them, that have a long sort of black stripe going down their bodies. Do you see those too? Yeah, they're going to be right over here. These fish right here, some of my favorite that we have in this exhibit. I was hoping for an appearance by our zebra shark, which is going to be a really long, it has a really long tail and these beautiful spots that cover it and make a nice pattern. But I don't think we're going to get an appearance just yet, and that is okay. It's all right. We will go ahead and move on to our next habitat, and this one is going to have lots and lots of open space, scientists. Any guesses on which habitat this might be? Go ahead and place your bets. And in just a moment, we will see which habitat we are swimming into next, as well as what sort of animals are going to be in that habitat as well. Amazing. Friends, what do we have here? This is called the open ocean. That is pretty much just because it's wide, there's lots of space, and it's the ocean, just as you might have imagined. Lots of animals are going to call this habitat home, and you might notice something about their size of the animals that live in this habitat. So I'm going to go ahead and take a step off so we can get a nice and close view at these animals here. And actually, we can go ahead and jump right in to looking at which animal we're going to spot in this habitat. And to go ahead and place your bets, think about what size it's going to be, maybe what color it's going to be as well, and if it's going to be... Oh, amazing! What do we have here? Go ahead and I'll let you guys make some observations. What are some of the things that we notice about this fish here? Yeah, if you said its sheer size, you are correct. That's the same thing that I notice about this animal as well. Look at this humongous fish that we have here. The name of this fish is going to be called a mola mola, or an ocean sunfish. Now, just looking at it, do we think that the size of this animal is something that can help it in its habitat? Yeah, you're right. So lots of times animals that live in the open ocean are going to be larger in size, and that can help them to defend against predators. It helps them to be able to navigate. As we can see, this fish here has a really large eye. Oftentimes, large animals in the open ocean will have that really nice size eye to help them see, because this habitat is not always going to be well lit by the sun, especially in deeper areas of the ocean open. So many of these animals will have a very large sized eye, and that's going to help them out to be able to see. Talking a little bit more about this animal friend here, they are the largest bony fish that we have in our oceans. Isn't that super amazing? These friends can be over 2,000 pounds in size, and they can get up to 7 feet long. Super amazing. Now, mola molas are not going to be the fastest swimmers in our ocean, and that is okay. Oftentimes, they will use their dorsal fin, so this dorsal fin right here, to kind of help them balance and stabilize themselves, as well as this pectoral fin down here, with their tail fin that, to me, sort of looks like if a fish had a bite taken out of it, or was sort of like cut in half. This is a very interesting shape to me. And they will use that, move it, swish it back and forth to kind of glide in the open ocean. These fish also will go up to the surface and kind of lay flat, just like this, sort of like a pancake, and that lets birds come down to be able to pick off little things, parasites that might be growing on our ocean sunfish here. So really amazing fish. I love to look for them and spy them when I'm out on the boat, especially, and when if you are ever like scuba diving even, you might be able to see these beautiful ocean sunfish. Alrighty, I think it's time to go ahead and head to a different habitat. This one is going to be near the water, but it's actually going to be on land. So let's go ahead and see if me and Cole are on the same page here. Oh, perfect. He got it. Amazing. What do we have here, scientists? I'm going to go ahead and step off a little bit and see if you can make some observations. Are you spying as many animals as I am spying? Yeah. Look at all of these birds here. We've got so many all throughout this beautiful beach. Scientists, any guesses as to what this animal might be? Yeah, if you said penguins, you are correct. So we have here some Magellanic penguins. What do you notice about the color of these animals? I notice that on their bellies, see right over here, they have this beautiful white coloration, and then on their backs, they have a darker color. As they are all spread out on the beach, I think that this coloration helps them to blend in with the sand, especially this brownish black color that they have on their backs. But when they are swimming in the ocean, would you believe that this pattern helps them camouflage there as well? What these animals have going on is a really cool camouflage technique called counter counter camouflage. And the way that it works is that they have this bright coloration. Oh, perfect. A nice close up. We have a beautiful Magellanic penguin, one of ours here at the aquarium, and he's got a fish inside of his mouth. Um, but the way that this camouflage technique works is that when the animal is swimming on its belly in the ocean, right, if there is an animal below it looking up, it will notice that bright coloration, and that helps the animal to blend in with the sunlight coming down through the ocean. And then vice versa, if an animal is above our penguin looking down at it, they will see this black, this dark coloration, and that helps it to blend in with the ocean floor. Let's go ahead and see if we can look at some beautiful Magellanic penguins swimming along. Do we think that these animals are fast swimmers? Do we think that they are often just going to be cruising? Do we think that they are going to be running into each other as they are swimming? Do we think they're pretty peaceful swimmers? Go ahead and place your bets. Think about it. Make a hypothesis as to how we think these friends are swimming. As my friend gets ready to pull up that picture, these Magellanic penguins are actually going to be found not in the Arctic regions, in the very icy South Pole. They are actually going to be found in South America in warmer environments. So that's one of the reasons why we can have them right here at the aquarium. I'm going to go ahead and step off so we can make some observations of our beautiful penguins that are going to be swimming. Amazing. These animals, believe it or not, are able to dive to depths of 100 to 200 feet. I just think that is incredible, especially when thinking about the sheer size of them. So Magellanic penguins are not the largest. They are going to be around 10 pounds on average and about 2 feet to 2.5 feet tall. So not the largest ones, but they are definitely still amazing divers and swimmers. These friends love to eat things like schooling fish and squid, things like anchovies that they are going to be diving for in the ocean. Amazing. I love just the way that they are using their flippers here. As you may know, penguins are not able to fly, but they pretty much fly underwater, using those flippers to be able to propel them through the ocean. Alrighty, scientists. We looked at the tropical reef when we first started. We looked at the open ocean. We were at the beach. Let's go ahead and dive back into the water, into another habitat that we have here at the aquarium, and see what animals we can spy in that one. Let's see what we can notice, see what's out there for us. As we get ready to pull it up, I want you to take a guess as to what colors you might notice in this habitat, and if it is different or similar to one that we have already looked at. Do we think that these animals are going to have lots of bright colors? Do we think they're going to be more muted, more earth tones? Do we think they might be very large in size, or that it will differ? Lots of things that we have in store for this next habitat we are going to be looking at any moment now. Alrighty, let's go ahead and take a look at this next habitat that we have here. Amazing. Beautiful. Scientists, do we know what we have here? What do we see all along this background here that we see growing in this habitat? If you said kelp or seaweed, you were correct. This is a kelp forest habitat that we have here at the aquarium, and it's actually modeled after a real place in Catalina Island. It's a very popular dive site. This here is going to be the foundation of this habitat, and it creates a home for so many different kinds of animals. So kelp, believe it or not, is actually not a plant. It is a type of algae. And so what that means is that it does use the sun to grow and to get food the same way that plants do, but it doesn't have roots or things like that that other plants have. So this is going to be a type of algae, and it is actually the largest species of algae that we have on our planet. Something else that you might notice about this kelp are going to be how it grows straight up. Do you see that? Once it reaches the surface, it will actually fold over just like that, creating a nice canopy. And at all levels of this kelp forest, there's going to be lots of life. The same way that we have forests on land that have different levels in them as well. A lot of my favorite animals are going to call the kelp forest home, including this really cool fish that has a unique way of blending in. I can spy it actually right now in our kelp forest. I'll give you a couple seconds to see if you can see it as well. Do you guys see our very large fish? Right over here. Yes, this is a giant sea bass, and they are going to live in this kelp forest habitat. Let's go ahead and see if we can spy. Oh, amazing. A large close-up picture of our giant sea bass friend that we have right over here. I'm going to step all the way off so that you can get a nice unobstructed view. And what do you notice about this animal now that it is closer to you? Some of the things that I notice are just going to be all of these spots right here. Do you see that? This is something that also helps this animal camouflage. So earlier we were talking about counter camouflage with like those contrasting colors of the black and the white. This is another form of camouflage called disruptive camouflage. And these spots actually help to break up the larger shape and size of this fish to help it blend in and hide in the kelp better. So when they get to be this large adult size, they are going to be one of the apex predators in a kelp forest. So pretty much nothing is going to be trying to eat or predate on our giant sea bass here. But, you know, as all things, they have to start out small as when they are a baby. And so these patterns are really going to help them to be able to camouflage and blend in to that habitat. Giant sea basses, as their name states, are huge. They are giant. These friends can weigh over 500 pounds and can be over 7 feet long. So not as large as our mola mola, right? Those are over a ton, but still a really large fish and something that I think is really cool to see. There is another animal in a kelp forest that has that same sort of disruptive camouflage pattern going on. Let's see if we can take a closer look at it, and if it is going to be another fish, if it's going to be a completely different animal. Let's see if we can take a look at it. What are we thinking, scientists? Do we think it's going to be a shark? Do we think it's going to be an animal that has no bones at all? Or do we think it's going to be a mammal? An animal that is closer related to you and I. Oh, lovely. Look at what we have here. This right here, scientists, is a harbor seal, and these are some that we have right here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. What are some of the things that you notice about this animal just right off the bat, just by looking at them? Yeah, if you said this coloration, right, this sort of cookies and cream that we often like to say here at the aquarium. This cookies and cream coloration, very similar to our giant sea bass, that helps to break up these animals' shape and allow them to blend in better with their environment. Oh, so beautiful and also just so cute. Do we see these whiskers here, as well as these eyes that help them to be able to have a good look at when they are swimming around in a kelp forest? Let's go ahead and see if we can look at a video of these amazing animals as they swim and make their way around our exhibit here that we have at the aquarium. I'm going to go ahead and take a step off so that we can make sure we have a nice view and that we can see them. Seals, like our harbor seal here, are going to belong to the pinniped family, and so that's just going to include seals, sea lions, and walruses, two of which we have here at the aquarium. So beautiful. Did we see that one swimming in the background? The same way that the sunlight is coming in, these patterns, this coloration, that to me reminds me of as if the sunlight is speckled on their bodies. Really a great camouflage technique to help these animals be able to swim in their habitat, sometimes going unspotted. Amazing. Alrighty, we got a nice and close look at these beautiful harbor seals. Let's go ahead, and I want to talk about another habitat that is similar to a kelp forest, but a little bit different. So, this next habitat is going to be called a marine meadow or a sandy bottom, and I'll let you go ahead and take a guess why it might be called that before we show a picture of it. Let's go ahead and see. Oh, amazing. What do we notice here, scientists? What are your eyes showing you? Right, all of this seagrass here. So beautiful. So, earlier we were looking at kelp, right? That is similar in coloration, right? It has that beautiful green color. But this, do we notice this grass here? Does it look a little bit different than the kelp that we saw earlier? Yeah, you're right. And that's because seagrass is a plant, so it's not an algae. And so this organism is going to have roots at the bottom that it uses to get nutrients. And in this habitat, there are lots of animals that call it home. I spy one right now in this picture. I'm going to give you a few moments to see if you can spot it as well before I point it out. All right, are you ready? This fish right here. Do you see that, scientists? Yeah, it's doing a great job of blending in, right? Lots of animals are going to call this marine meadow sandy bottom home. Let's go ahead and see if we can look at another animal that lives in this same habitat. Which animal are we going to be able to see next? Do we think it's an animal that can move really fast? Do we think it's a slower moving animal? Do we think it's a really large animal? What color do we think it could be? Who are we going to meet next in our marine meadow sandy bottom structure? Oh, amazing. What do we see here? First off, look at this right here. We have a beautiful armored sea star. There's one that I'm going to point out. I'm going to give you a chance to spot the other two that are in here. Do you see them? Yeah, so there's one more right over here, and then there's a third one right over there. These animals are going to often bury themselves inside of the sand, and that's a great way to hide, right? To hide from predators and to really just cover themselves up. We can see some sand that is still on this one as from the last time when it covered itself up. So that's very slow moving animals. So if something really wants to eat it and to get it, they aren't going to be able to swim away really quickly the same way that a fish would be able to. Instead, they actually have all of these tube feet. You can't really see them in this picture, but you can see their spines, which is equally as cool in my opinion. But they have these really cool tube feet that allow them to move and glide along the ocean floor. And they are, as we know, able to cover themselves. So even though they might not be able to swim really quickly or walk, I guess I should say, they are going to be able to cover themselves in that nice sandy bottom that will allow them to camouflage so that other animals might not be able to spy them. Amazing, scientists. Alrighty. There is another really cool animal that lives in this same sort of seagrass environment, going along with our seagrass and kelp theme. This is one of my favorite animals because of its shape. I just think it's so beautiful, the coloration on it, and I think out of all of the animals that we mentioned today, this one, in my opinion, does the best job at blending in and camouflaging to its environment. Let's go ahead and see if we can spy our next animal friend that we're going to see today. Any thoughts on what it might be? Any guesses on the color or the shape? Oh, here we have, look at this, or actually I kind of pointed it out already, but in case you did not see it, do we see our friend right here? Yeah, this is a type of flatfish. And honestly, our armored sea star did a pretty good job of blending in. Oh, there he goes. Did a pretty good job of blending in, but our flatfish here, I think, is doing an even better job. So these animals can bury themselves, right? So they can be completely covered. But if they choose not to, do we see this pattern on their bodies? That's going to help them blend in just by lying flat. These fish, believe it or not, actually are going to swim like this. So most fish, right, swim this way, but flatfish, they actually are going to be swimming like this. The thing about it, though, is that when they are first born, they actually do swim upright, side to side. But as they grow, they transition into swimming flat, like this, and lying flat on the sandy bottom floor. They also, you might notice, these eyes right here. One right there, and one right there. Oh, you see them moving? So when they are born, their eyes are on either side of their face, just like most fish. But as they get older, their eyes actually transition. So one eye will move through the skull of our fish here, and then they will both be on the same side, the same way that our fish is, just like this. And so that's going to help them to still be able to see kind of what's going around, what's moving around in this sandy bottom habitat that they live in. Alrighty, friends, really quick, I would like to look at one last animal. I did say that this one is the best one that we've seen so yet as far as camouflage goes, but there is a master of camouflage that I would like to point out to you really quickly before our time ends here for today. Oh, amazing. So, this animal that we have here, we can see it pretty nice and clear. This is going to be one of our giant Pacific octopus that we have here at the aquarium. Let's go ahead and look at a picture of one that is blending in perfectly with its habitat. And I bet it's going to be a lot harder to spot, a lot harder to spy in its natural habitat. Let's go ahead and see if we can spot our beautiful octopus that we have here. Amazing. I'm going to step off. I'm not going to point it out to you just yet. If you can see it already, then that is cool. But for me, I think it takes a good look. Right over here, we have our beautiful two-spot octopus. This is the eye right there that you will see. These animals are incredible at camouflaging. And that's because an octopus is able to change not only the color of its body, but also the texture as well. So these animals are going to be amazing at blending into their habitats and not letting other animals spot them or spy them. Alrighty, scientists, that is going to be pretty much the end of our time here today. We started off with just making some observations in our tropical reef habitat. Then we headed over to the open ocean and spied a really large animal that lives in there. We went to the beach and looked at some really beautiful penguins. We then hopped over to our kelp forest back inside the water and looked at some animals that live in that habitat with our giant sea bass and our harbor seal. We looked at some sandy bottom animals in our marine meadows, like our flatfish and our armored star. And we finished off by looking at a beautiful two-spot octopus. So many animals that we were able to eye spy today. That is going to wrap up our program for this 9 a.m. Episode. But I encourage you to come back and join us at 10 a.m. where we are going to talk about all about wetlands. Super amazing, super interesting. Until then, we'll see you next time. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to our oceans, and we'll catch you at another episode of Aquarium Online Academy. Bye, scientists.